Hi, this is Zena Harris.
And I'm Mark Rabin.
Welcome to the tie-in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another wonderful episode of The Tie-In. We're here coming at you from every angle. And yeah, I'm on the road. Zena's getting ready for a big trip to Australia.
Yep.
And yeah, we were just joking about overwhelm and all the things happening all at the same time. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
Zena,
mean,
how you
so
feeling?
yeah, so I guess for those when you prepare for a trip, it is like hectic up to the point where you're
Yeah.
leaving. I mean, you're on the road right now. So
Mhm.
what's what do you have on hold? What are you doing on your trip? I'm prepping for Australia and by the time this comes out, I'll be there. So hopefully I will
Yeah.
have, you know,
It'll be in the sunshine,
yeah, I looked at the weather report.
summertime-ish there,
I'm
right?
super excited coming from the
It's
Pacific Northwest.
it's the lead up to yeah, by the time you get on that plane, right? And in that seat, it's like the amount of stuff that has to happen to get to that moment where you're just like pure exhaustion. This is why like plane sleeps, if you can do that. I mean, that's sort of one of the greatest blessings, just by the time you just skid onto the plane, you're just like, I'm out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like I can do that pretty well. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of like churning and burning up until tomorrow. I mean, so
Yeah.
just a few more hours. So,
Yeah. And you got the Green Spark team
hmm.
lined up,
Oh
ready to
yeah.
take over everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just first, I'll give a shout out to the team. I mean, way to go,
Yeah.
team. Two of us are going to be out on the road, and it's my colleague Andrew and I are going to be out. And, we handle a lot, we manage a lot. So engaging the team, delegating, and it's just been
Hmm.
this exercise in delegation and bringing people up to speed and new projects coming in this week. You know, and it's really been a coordinated effort. And I appreciate that about our team and their willingness to
Hmm.
step up and, step into roles that, they have to hold for us for a week while we might be out of pocket. So, this is what makes a great team, I think, for people help each other out. And I really appreciate mine, especially this week
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
we've
You got a
been
great team. You got a
prep
great team. And
prepping.
all, and also like, when you are on the road, like it's just, you're not going to be working. I mean, you're going to be so busy working down there that you're not going to be like, unless you've got like a crazy deliverable, but you're going to be so many hours away, different time difference, just hustling down there.
Oh, 100%. And the thing too is that's been so exciting is, I think I mentioned this last week, like people have been asking us to go down to Australia and whatnot. Okay, fine. But as we've been setting up meetings, I mean, our schedule is jammed packed.
Yeah.
I am so surprised how wonderful the reception has been, and people have been following us, they say, and they're fans and like that kind of thing. And they're like, yeah, we can't
Hmm.
wait to meet you and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
that's and then yeah, the schedule is packed, and Andrew and I
I
have to
love
split
it.
up, divide and conquer. Like
Wow.
it's it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of work, and we're gonna be hustling a lot,
Hmm.
no doubt.
Hmm.
But I think
Well, you'll be
we'll
you're wearing the Green Spark hat and the tie-in hat
totally.
and then just the Xena hat, the normal Xena hat.
I know, because this girl's got to get to the beach.
Mhm.
I will just say,
Oh yeah.
because honestly, like, hello.
Yeah.
But yes, I will be wearing the Green Spark Group hat for the majority of the trip.
Hmm.
I've got some fun tie-in interviews on the horizon too. So, and then taking, videos for us to post through the tie-in and whatnot, I think will happen too. So, and then just
Yeah.
like personal time, like I really want to check out the beach and see
Yeah.
see what that's all about. So
That's great. And you'll do a tie-in, maybe you do an interview from the beach. I mean, that's
yeah,
maybe
maybe
that's
I'll
what
get it.
we'll
Maybe I'll get it from the beach. I am gonna sit down with a couple of people, so maybe I'll get a little snippet from the beach or something.
yeah, from the beach.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah, on my end, I mean, I'm just I've been going as well. And it's just like it feels like it's that time of the year, right? Everybody's full throttle now. February, it's where we're in it. And yeah, I'm in Toronto right now,
Hmm.
and I've had the honor to be asked to be on a peer review committee for the clean energy innovation ecosystem in Canada, which is a part of the National Research Council. So basically, it's the lab network across Canada that oversees technology, early stage technology development, much like in the U.S., like it's a national lab, like NREL, the national lab. So, and just some just amazing, brilliant minds working on some of the greatest, energy challenges globally. And yeah, Canada has a great little toehold in some major key buckets. And so I'm on this peer review committee evaluating their strategy and their plan for the next number of years. And so it's cool. It's definitely a room stacked full of PhDs and then me. And so
That
uh,
is a super honor, Mark. I mean,
yeah,
honestly, like
yeah.
congratulations for that.
Thanks. It
It's a
it
big
cracks
deal.
me up. It cracks me up sometimes. And it's just so funny because it's so different from entertainment and that, but also like I slid into entertainment through the energy tech background, and I've managed to blend both of them, which is great. I mean, it's my love of both, like I said, entertainment and energy. But this one is like deep tech. That's what it is. It's just patents and deep tech and PhD researchers, and I just so much respect for these folks who've dedicated their lives
Yeah.
to uncovering and researching and making sure that Canada is in a position to win in the future with developing novel technologies and helping industry as well
Hmm.
bridge those early stage gaps.
Hmm.
So yeah, really, really impressed with the caliber of folks here. And so yeah, so it's definitely a little bit of a departure, and then back to normal life next week.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll send you a postcard.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Today we are going to talk about a world I know little about, but admire so much, and that's virtual reality. We have Athena Demos on, who is the CEO of Big Rock Creative. And I I'll just say for myself, like I'm amazed with VR. I hear a lot about it, but I don't know a ton. It's just a world that has this like level of creativity and innovation and tech and all this stuff like coming together
Yeah.
and seems super popular. And I'm a little apprehensive, to be honest. I feel like I just don't know enough about it, but I'm so excited to talk to Athena and learn more.
Yeah, me too. And it's definitely, a world that's at the convergence of all these different technologies and where we're at today on this planet. And
Hmm.
and yeah, and I just love Athena's energy, and I've known her now for a number of years, and have come across her at Burning Man on the Playa when she's rolling around with a film crew and recording these sort of VR moments, and effectively documenting the burn, and yeah, it's just super fun. And then she's also like a techie, and just has a really wide breadth of experience in all different aspects of production and technology. So just a really interesting person.
Awesome. Well, thanks for bringing her into the fold here, Mark. So, let's chat.
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the tie-in. Today, we're here with Athena Demos. She's the co-founder and CEO of BlackRock Creative, an award-winning XR experience company creating groundbreaking experiences for global clients. She's also been awarded the Trailblazer Award for XR Women in 2023, Top 50 Business and Marketing Visionaries by Adello Magazine, Best Extended Reality Content Innovator by Corporate Global Livewire, and inducted into the Marquee's Who's Who for 2024. And she's also had 20 years of experience producing iconic events like the LA Burning Man Decompression Arts and Music Celebration for 15 years, as well as the Art of Change inaugural ball for President Obama in LA. And she's transitioned to the metaverse to produce BRC Virtual. It's the official Burning Man experience whose scope is unprecedented in the VR space. And also, she's been 8 years as the PM for two Academy Award winning documentary film companies, Mariah Films. Wow, Athena, this is amazing.
Hello.
And I love how you and I met. You were a judge at the very first Misty's Award, um, with Misty West, and I was one of the companies that had been nominated, and then ultimately I think I won the award,
You
which
did
was super
win.
cool.
You
Yeah,
won the top honors.
I won the top honors. And then we became friends, and we met up at Burning Man. I in 2022 maybe, and then
Hmm.
also I got to roll around with you and your crew this past year. And yeah, and our paths have just crossed, and we thought, yeah, let's talk to Athena. So that's the intro.
That's the intro. And I'm super excited to meet you. Mark's just been talking you up. So welcome. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm excited about this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So were we.
Well, we try to, set a bit of context for folks out there. And dive into kind of how people came to be in the world of entertainment. So can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to work in entertainment in the first place?
Oh my God, it was like everything everywhere all at once. Not that I had anything to do with that movie, but my life seems to like be that. I have always been on the stage, like ever since I was a little girl. I loved being in front of people. I love public speaking and performing. So it like is in my DNA. My mother was a really good orator, and so I come by it very easily. So once I graduated college, I just got a bug that I had to go to Los Angeles and become an actress. And so I packed up all my stuff and I put it in a U-Haul and I put my car on a trailer, and my fish was sitting in a little aquarium next to me. And I drove halfway across the United States from Houston to Corpus Christi, from Houston to Los Angeles. I come from Corpus, and I started a career in acting, and I just did it. I just went for it. And as I did it, I also found this skill that I have, this talent that I have for production.
Hmm.
Because you get involved in low
Mhm.
budget films and there isn't a full crew, and everyone has to make up for whatever. And I was really good at paperwork and permitting and contracts and all of that type of stuff. So besides like memorize your lines, be in front of the camera and fulfill this role, it was, oh, and by the way, can you also do line producing, or can you also be our script supervisor? Or can you also, and so I would take on these roles, and I started doing more and more production and less acting. Uh, and then next thing I know, I was like a production manager for a major documentary film company. And and through all of that, I found Burning Man back in 1999 and fell in love with it, completely adored it, found my home, and started building community. I got back to LA and I was like, how can I get more involved? And the definition of more involved was a little extreme for me. And a couple years later, I started producing with four of my friends. We founded the LA Decompression Arts and Music Celebration, which was bringing Burning Man back to your home. And it was like
Hmm.
a one block in downtown LA. And then the next year it was two, and then three, and then four, then five. And then we got to like 6 blocks of downtown LA. And the city was like, look, we're all about giving you a permit, but that's a huge section. and you need to find another place to do it. And that was right around the time that there was this cornfield in downtown LA that was being transitioned to the LA State Historic Park. And I was already kind of doing fun little community activations when it was a cornfield. And so I asked them, I'm like, hey, I have this giant 5,000 person event. Can we do it in your park? And they were like, oh, we never thought about that, but sure, let's see. And we did it. And then it just escalated from there. And now that park is actually a major events venue for downtown LA. And it all started with us. So it's like event production and film production. And I've always just sort of fell into it. So that when I got into VR, it was natural.
That's amazing.
Lots of different like touch points in the industry, and then starting whole events and all the stuff. Super cool. So like, how have you noticed just over your years in these various aspects of entertainment, like how have you noticed it evolve? What were kind of, aspects in the early days, and are we focused on different things now? Like, how has it changed?
It's just more challenging to do. It's more challenging in that there's more bureaucratic paperwork. When I first started doing live events in downtown LA, I had city officials that were more than happy to be like, oh, don't worry about that permit, or don't worry about, and that's not the case anymore. It's every T and every I, and every permit has, like to do an event in LA, you have, I think it's 9 permits you have to file.
Wow.
Because every department needs their little piece of the pie. And so every permit has a fee. And some of the fees are flat, and some of the fees are based on attendance, and some of the fees are based on the amount of money you're going to make. It's like, and so everybody wants their little piece of the pie. And when I first started, it was like, oh, you don't have to pay for the city permit, we're going to sponsor it. I was like, oh my God, that's great. And LA State Historic Park, State Parks was like, don't worry about the permit fee, just pay the maintenance fee. We have to pay our maintenance people, but you guys do a really good job at taking care of the park, so we're going to sponsor you. And it's not like that now. Like, I think everybody is so hurting for cash that they can't really just sponsor you. Also, these were Burning Man events. So Burning Man in principled events. It's not like they were producing them.
Right.
And so we couldn't take in corporate sponsors. So to produce an event meant that somebody had to come up with upfront costs. And then we had ticket fees that would help cover. So for the first few years, it was several people's credit cards.
Oh my gosh.
And then hopefully we made enough money to actually pay back those credit cards. And then some that we could stick in a bank account to use to pay for the event the following year. And year upon year, it actually was very successful. And we scaled very, very, very quickly to actually come up with enough funds to buy a plot of land out in Kern County, where an overnight event called Bequinox now happens. I'm not with the organization anymore. I started a not-for-profit called the LA League of Arts, which was our umbrella organization for producing all these events and help sponsoring art to be built on Playa and come back to LA. And so that's my legacy that's still going, is that from all these events, we actually raised enough money that we could buy a forever home to have our event on, so that we wouldn't have these constantly escalating permit fees.
That's amazing. And so, and that love of Burning Man and community has taken you to the BRC VR, right? And so can you tell us
which is now Burner Sphere.
Okay, Burner Sphere, got it.
Yeah. So BRCVR started.
Yeah.
Okay, so BRCVR started in 2020, and it was an answer to COVID. So COVID was raging, and I'm going to go backwards a little bit. But COVID was raging, and the Burning Man community needed a way to get together, and so we created BRCVR. But it didn't start there. It started in 2015. When there was a community member that came to me and said, hey, I work in virtual reality and I love it. And I went to Burning Man for the first time in 2014 and created a virtual-ish digital twin of the playa. And I want to show it to Burning Man and I want to build it out more. And so I arranged for him and myself to go up to San Francisco. We showed it to everybody at the org. They thought it was really cool, but it was like Google Cardboard. So you're just looking at it. You can't really walk around. There weren't other people. It was a very lonely experience. And it was more of an archival tool. So Burning Man was like, well, this is nice and all, but. And they told us we could keep developing it, but the project just really kind of fell flat because it didn't fill an immediate need. Like Burning Man really works when all 10 principles are at play. That's when we are at our best. And so there was like 5 principles at play, but immediacy wasn't there because there wasn't a need for it. And a couple others weren't really, communal effort isn't there because it was single player and there's no real civic responsibility to it. So it didn't really fit in. And then you fast forward to 2020 and Doug, my business partner, Doug Jacobson, he couldn't, he was going to have a big birthday party, but he couldn't because of COVID. So we reached out to our friend Greg and said, hey, I want to do it in VR. What worlds do you have? And he goes, I have the Playa sitting on a hard drive on the top shelf of my closet. I could spit it up and see if it'll work, and maybe you could have that. So he literally dusted off a hard drive and stuck it on his computer, and it was moving parts, not SSD, so it might not have worked. It's just been sitting there for 5 years, and sure enough, it spun right up and it worked, and he took the file and we transferred it or whatever he used to Doug, and Doug put it on a platform called AltSpace. And then the rest was kind of history. We were off to the races. I had just gotten to Mexico, and Doug and Greg were on the virtual playa in AltSpace. And I get a phone call from Greg, who's like super excited, elated, actually. He's like, oh my God, you won't believe it. This is happening. This is what we've always wanted. Da, da, da. He goes, you got to get on. And I had like a little Dell 13-inch 2-in-1 laptop with like no power to do anything but email. And I was in Panama, and I just gotten to Mexico, and that's where I was going to hunker down for the pandemic, which at the time we were told was going to be 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember
we
that?
laugh about it now.
We laugh about it now, 2 years later. And it took like a half an hour, and I got the app to load on my computer, and it took 11 minutes for me to actually load into it because I was at 6 megabits per second in a little beach town called Zipolite. And all of a sudden, I'm like on my computer, and I'm there with Greg and Doug and having a conversation with them in this virtual space, and we're on Playa, and I'm like, this is nuts. And I'm not in a VR headset. Then they had to like send a VR headset down to me, and then I got into VR. And that's a whole other funny story because they sent me the Oculus Go, which really couldn't handle the platform. It would overheat.
Oh,
and so and I was in a really hot place in southern Mexico. So in order to prevent it from overheating, I had to like hold things on the front of the headset. And the first thing I ever did was romaine lettuce, and it just wilted it super quickly, like cooked one side of it. But that's what I had in my refrigerator. And then I went on an outing to a grocery store to try to find an ice pack. Pharmacy didn't have it. They didn't actually know what I was talking about. Ice wasn't really a thing. So I didn't want to hold like ice in a Ziploc bag on the front, right? Because that's like electronics. And so I found one of those pre-marinated steaks. And I knew, it takes a long time for meat to defrost.
Yeah.
So I bought it, and I put it in I had one of those little tiny refrigerators with the little freezer thing. That's not even a freezer. It's just like that top square part of your refrigerator. And I put it in there, and I froze it. And so whenever I wanted to use my headset, I would have one controller, and I'd be holding this steak on the front, and going around trying to prevent my headset from overheating because it would only last like 20 minutes. And then it would shut off from overheating. And then I would flip the steak and I'd move around and I'd flip the steak. And then finally it would be completely defrosted and the headset would overheat. And so I would get about an hour, maybe a little bit more. And then the headset would overheat and I would have to take a break. And I frosted and defrosted that steak so many times that when I finally left Zippolite 4 months later, I was like, terrified. I was like, I wanted to bury it in the dumpster. I didn't want
Oh,
dogs to get it.
I
I
was
didn't
gonna ask
want
you,
like,
did you eat it?
no, are you kidding?
Give it
That's
for the
like a
sharks.
salmonella nightmare waiting to happen. Like I didn't want to feed it to any animal. I had frosted it and defrosted it in that plastic,
Oh my
hermetically
God.
sealed with marinade. I was like, there's like alien bacteria growing in there that's going
Probably.
to wipe out mammals on this planet. No.
Oh my
But yeah, that was
gosh.
the
The early
start.
days of VR and innovation.
That's it. That's it. I just,
Yeah.
I love this like problem solving and creativity like that you've got going on here with the steak. That's amazing. It's a great story.
It's really funny. I actually have photographs of me holding the steak, and it was so hot in Zipolite because it was like summertime in southern Mexico that I would be naked, sweating, holding a frozen steak on the front of my headset because besides the headset just over processing, it's like 103 degrees
Oh my.
and humid, super humid. So I'm like ice pack on the front of my headset, but naked. And I have pictures because my team thought it was the craziest thing in the world. So it's like pictures for proof,
Uh-huh.
pictures where it didn't happen. So yeah, I have pictures of me sitting in a chair. Like I set up a camera and I took pictures of me sitting there with this steak on the front of my Oculus Go.
So talk about evolution. Like, what's it like now?
I have the Oculus 3. I still have that Go sitting in Doug's garage, but now I have an Oculus 3 and it doesn't overheat. It's got a great processor. It's actually a really good little headset, great for traveling. And we're building a platform,
Yeah.
Altspace sunset in 2023. And we started looking for a home for our community and our content and really just couldn't find one.
Hmm.
There were lots of platforms that had some of the elements we needed, but not others. And it was a huge, heavy lift to get them to build what we need. And then there were other platforms that had more of what we need, but we didn't really like their privacy policy or their terms of service
Mhm.
for taking care, like preserving the IP rights of the art for the artist.
Mhm.
Like a lot of these platforms, they say whatever you put on the platform they own or that they can do whatever they want with.
Right.
And we had a nice agreement with Microsoft
Mhm.
where if the art got put on the platform, yes, they could do what they needed to do with it. So like it's their servers, so if they needed to move the stuff from one server to another, they could and they didn't need it. But the IP of the art itself still remained with the artist.
So,
Mhm.
Athena, just is this something that people can see, can go on? Anybody in the public can go and see this VR footage, or is this something that has to, right? How does someone see this footage, and what is it about?
It's called Burner Sphere.
Okay,
And it is, you go to burnersphere.com
okay,
and there's an application for our alpha version, which will hopefully open soon. We were trying to open it at the beginning of this year, but we have some bug squashing to do. It's very complicated building your own platform. And it's one thing to just build content on top of somebody else's platform, but when you're trying to build everything underneath it, it's very complicated. Our goal is that we're going to open to the public in June of this year to coincide with the Desert Arts Preview. The Desert Arts Preview is an event that Burning Man has produced for many years that showcases some of the art that is going to be coming to Burning Man. And by some, I mean like 10 pieces out of
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
400.
Yeah.
Like it's a tiny little slice. It's like, here's the temple and here's 10 other pieces. Now we did Desert Arts preview in, I want to say 21 and 22 with Burning Man. So they did their Zoom call, but then people could come into VR and run around and see the art. And we had 50 pieces. There was a lot more than they could cover in a 1 hour Zoom call. And our goal is that every year when they do their Desert Arts preview in June, that they do their Zoom call and it's a few pieces, but then people could come into VR and see as many pieces as artists want to send us. And we will help artists transfer their art into a 3D model as well. And there are great AI tools now. When we first started doing this in 2020, there were not great AI tools. Now you can scribble something on a napkin and have an AI create a 3D model for you. It's really incredible what you can do with AI now. But we will help create that model. But then we'll have the models ahead of time and then go to Burning Man, which is what we did in 22 and 23 and 24. And for the models that we already have, we go and try to scan those pieces of art and interview the artist and learn about the community that it took to build that piece of art and the artist statement behind it and what it means. And like, tell us about the journey of making it, because that is the story that makes up the culmination that is Burning Man. So Burning Man isn't an event. Burning Man is a collection of stories. And it's a collection of stories that create the event that happens in the Black Rock Desert, but it also happens all over the world. It's this global community, and we call ourselves Burning Man. And it's a crazy number. It's like 2.8 million people around the world. I just heard an amazing statistic that more people go to regional events than go to the event in the Black Rock Desert. 95,000 people attend regional events, and 80,000, less than 80,000 last year, went to the event in the Black Rock Desert.
Mm-hmm.
That's really amazing. So we want to tell that story. So at its core, Burnersphere is an immersive documentary experience. Doug and I are both filmmakers. So this is, we're telling a story, but in an immersive environment, utilizing VR. We film. So I keep going like this because it's all bubbles,
Right.
So we have these 360 bubbles. We have these 180 bubbles.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you're walking around the digital twin of Burning Man, and it's not a complete twin, it's not twin. It's like a twin. It looks like the playa. It feels like the playa. But since the playa is ephemeral and always changing year after year, it's kind of an amalgamation of all the different years. And yeah, Pink Heart's almost always over here, and Death Guild's almost always over here. And so we kind of put them there, and they're always going to be there. But you might go to Burning Man one year, and they stuck Death Guild way over there, and then Death Guild gets pissed off, and they get heavy machinery and move their dome back to where they wanted it to be, which is what they did last year. We do work with the Burning Man organization. We are in collaboration with them to tell this story, to make the playa as true to its essence as possible. And then we have a lot of department world. So we have a world about the Black Rock Rangers. We have a world about the Lamplighters. We have a world about Recycle Camp and BMIR and Playa Info and the Artery. And it's like, we want people to get involved. And it's not just telling the story, but also relaying the information that you need as a participant to participate more. Like, oh my God, I love Lamplighters. How do I do it? Click this link. Sign up here.
It's so interesting. As you're talking about this and describing this sort of, the virtual reality of Burning Man, I'm curious, like, just kind of taking something you said earlier about the IP and building your own platform. Has this resonated with other artists and their storytelling, maybe opportunity or approach being on a platform that, has, I don't know what your IP, rules are, but just seemingly more favorable to artists than than others, and now your proof of concept with the Burning Man world. Do you think have other people reached out about this to?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I spent a long time with our attorney who specializes in intellectual property law and digital rights. And, after years of doing this, we wrote our own privacy policy and terms of service that basically says you're giving us permission to put your models, and we have an artist agreement actually that every artist that puts their stuff on our platform, it says you own the IP of your art. It's yours. You're granting us permission to put it on the platform and to adapt it to the needs of the platform. So we might need to go into your model and change it, not the look, not the design, but we might need to decrease it by millions of polygons. We might need to maybe kind of take off some of the rounded and make it a little bit more square to have it fit in. But we'll work with the artist on that. But the bottom line is we can't take it, reproduce it, adapt it, stick it in an AI model and sell it to somebody else. That's not our right to do.
Right. Okay.
And but if you as the artist want to work with us to, squeeze it, stretch it, change it, shove it into an AI model and do something else with it, great, all for that. I love communal effort and collaboration and radical self-expression, even if it includes utilizing AI, but we're not going to do that without written consent.
Right.
Without additional written consent. We are saying at the get-go, we are not going to do this. Would we like to? Yeah.
Sure.
But
that's
that
kind of,
means that we are going to go to each individual artist and say, hey, now that we've done this, we want to do this. Do you want to participate? And if they say yes, then they get added into whatever that thing is that we want to do. Like there might be an experiment to see what happens if we take all these models and put it into an LLM and then ask the AI to create something based on the wealth of digital information that we have. But I'm not going to do that without asking people's permission.
Right. Just to switch gears a little bit here, because there is a sort of sustainability theme that we come around, and obviously Burning Man's been having some real deep discussions around its future and what does sustainability mean, and we know that there's a huge footprint for it, regardless of how we want to skin this cat. And have you been able to cross some of those conversations in terms of sustainability, that this is either a lower impact way to get the message out or get people's experiences on the playa? Or is there a different way that you're looking at this from a sustainability or an innovation angle? Because that's kind of something that's been sort of trying to figure that out over the years as well as I speak to you, because you're very open to new technologies. And, we even lent you some solar and battery stuff a while ago, right?
You saved our ass.
Yeah. So you're deep in it, and you're touching all these different areas. Even the art projects this year had solar embedded within them, and there was so much solar. And so, yeah, just wondering what your take is on that right now, because it's very top of mind for a lot of burners.
So being able to, first of all, you can only fit 80,000 people on that playa, period, ever, done, capped. It's never going to go higher than that. It's not that the lake bed isn't big enough. It's that road actually can't support more people from an emergency standpoint sort of such scenario. So everybody asked me like, well, you could put 100,000 people on that playa. And I'm like, not with that 2-lane highway. And nobody's going to build out that highway just for Burning Man. So that's where we are. But there's there's a lot of people that try to buy tickets every year that can't, or that would love to buy tickets, but they're in school during that period of time. They have kids in school during that period of time. They're teachers. They just can't afford it. I mean, the ticket is nothing. That's like this part of the expense that is Burning Man, and then you have if you're coming from Europe or some other continent, like you have the plane ticket to get over, and then you have to acquire all your stuff. Then you have to like rent the car to get there or get on the bus or get it. It is a massive journey that requires a lot of money. There's no way
Yeah.
around that.
And time
With
and
and
energy.
time. And with Burner Sphere, we're looking at this from the accessibility point of view, from radical inclusion. You need internet, you need connectivity, and you need some form of technology. Right now, the platform is Quest only, because that is where we're building to. It's Android XR. But there are other headsets that'll work with it as well. Upon our launch, fingers crossed, we will also have desktop, which will be both Mac and PC. We love our Linux friends, but it won't be designed for Linux yet. But we're looking into that. It's not a huge group of people, but we love you. But Mac and PC for sure. So all you need is a desktop computer, or you need a VR headset. We can put it on the Steam store. We'll have a PC VR version. So if you're one of these fancy people that has like a high-powered gaming PC and you want your shit to be prettier, we'll have a version for you. But we're trying to make this work for as many people as possible, so that while only 80,000 people can go to the Playa, like 3 million people can come together in the Burner Sphere. Also, the Burner Sphere is not during Burning Man. It is the other 51 weeks out of the year. It is 24/7, 365 days a year. We will have it open while the Burning Man event is going on, but we won't actually have like a burn going on during the same period of time, because all the same theme camps that want to participate are on Playa. So we'll have like the webcam stream and people can gather, and we'll have a few little things going on. But our big burn events will happen 3 times a year. Our big one and they're only going to be 3 days, not 8 days, because 8 days in a VR headset we've done, and that is crazy. It's a level of immersion that I don't think is actually healthy.
Yeah, I have this visual of just like, all these brains just like,
Melting.
tapped into the Burner Sphere, and just this is the future, just like for 3 days.
Well, it's like Ready Player One, but we jokingly would call ourselves Ready Playa One. But
Right.
I spent 10 hours straight in my headset when we were producing BRCVR. I spent 10 hours straight, and then a warning came up that said something like a maximum number of hours has been not achieved, but like basically it said you might want to get out of your headset. What? And so we started a hour in, hour out rule. It's like piss clear, and like there's like the Playa rules of water. Alcohol is not water, and drugs are not sleep. And you're supposed to piss clear. Like there's all these like little cute little sayings for survival. And so I started one that said hour in and hour out. So if you spend 5 hours in your headset, you have to spend 5 hours out of your headset. And that's not out of your headset in front of your screen. It's go outside. Go outside, hug a tree, touch the grass, walk around barefoot. Like just talk to a plant, connect with something that has physical 3 dimensions, and get out of your headset. So an hour in, an hour out. And drink a lot of water. Piss clear also applies to VR. So your brain
and life.
And life. Your brain is mostly water. Your body's mostly water. Your brain has a lot of water. And so when you're using a lot of brain power, you get dehydrated. So you need to drink more water and more electrolytes. And so part of VR sickness, people talk about VR sickness, you get like motion sickness from being in VR. Part of it is actually dehydration. So I tell people, if you start feeling a little nauseous in the headset, sip water, like get a straw, one of those sippy, yes, like that. But it's hard doing this in a VR headset. So if you get a water bottle where you can just, sippy straw. So so you have to stay hydrated, drink your electrolytes, but it makes it more accessible. Now, the green conversation. Yes,
Yeah.
the carbon footprint of Burner Sphere is less than 80,000 people going to Playa. However, I don't know how to do the math on the carbon footprint of our servers if we have 100,000 people, a million people, 3 million people, and all of that networking. So we have 3 different server stacks. We have the networking, which is like the avatars and talking to each other and knowing where they are within the space and in all the different worlds. Then we have where the video content is coming in from, and all the different people that are all over the platform in various different worlds, and all the video content coming in, and then all the digital content, the digital layer. And then we have the communications layer, the talking to each other, the messaging each other, the taking photos and that storing it in your account and you being able to share it out to other people. Yeah. So we have all these layers and they all exist in different types of servers, and all those servers are using energy.
Yeah.
And while I know that the carbon footprint of going to Burning Man per person is probably higher than all these servers.
Yeah.
I actually don't know.
I mean, it sounds like, well, maybe Green Spark Group can do some of that calculation, but also
so.
If there's anybody listening that can do that calculation.
Well, you know, yeah,
I would love to know.
That's really interesting because I was thinking one of the people who came to mind, fellow burner, Dr. Ryan Wartina, he was like, know your data, all the stuff. And so maybe he has some thoughts around this.
Like everything that I do, I start with radical inclusion. How can I make this platform in a way where people feel radically included? And so just in general, I want people to feel like they are radically included into the community, that they have access to the community, and that gives them access to the community where they live. So if you, like when we did BRCBR, we had all these people from Spain and Africa coming and hanging out with us that didn't know that there was this huge Spanish regional called Nowhere going on in their country, in their backyard, that they could connect with the community physically. And same with the African burners, a few from Kenya and Nairobi and then South Africa that had no idea that Africa Burn, which is like 25,000 people strong, or some number like that, had no idea that it even existed. And we were able to be like, no, you should go to Africa Burn, go to Nowhere, like there's all these events going on where you can connect to the community in person and have it virtually. So that level of accessibility I want to bring to the Burning Man community. On top of that, I also want to create a level of accessibility from accessibility standards. So people that are sight impaired. We worked with Microsoft several years ago now to create virtual worlds for the Blind Burners Project, which is a Burning Man project, to create sound navigation tools for people that are sight impaired so that they could navigate through the world and what that meant. And so it was just a big study. We did it to a point, and then they sunset AltSpace, and then they didn't bring it over into Mesh. And so the project kind of fell short, but we still have all the information that we collected, and we are going to apply that to the burner sphere. So phase 1 is our launch in June. Phase 2, we're going to start building in these accessibility tools.
You're blowing my mind. It's so interesting to hear how you're thinking about this and what you're doing. I feel this is all new to me. So you're just blowing my mind. It's so cool. Last question. We ask everybody this, so really, really curious. If you were to create a playbook and guiding principles about sustainability and entertainment, what would be number 1 on your list?
I think it would actually be my favorite Burning Man principle. And that would be communal effort.
Awesome.
Yeah. Because communal effort ignites all the other principles. In order to have communal effort, it means you created something larger than you can do yourself. And that means more people get to participate in it, and they get radically included, and they get to radically express themselves and learn new skills, which makes them more radically self-reliant. And so if you want the entertainment industry to be sustainable, you have to hire people. You need to create a communal effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how much AI can I use so that I don't need to hire more people. It's how big can I make this project so that I can hire more people, so that I can create a sustainable environment for the entertainment industry, so that we can all work together and rise to the top.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. Like, instead of a race to the bottom, like, why not bring everybody together and rise together? Oh,
one giant communal effort.
Communal effort.
And that's what needs to happen. There's no doubt in my mind on that one.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so
Thanks,
much for
Athena.
this conversation.
That's great.
Yeah, burnersphere.com, burnersphere.com. Sign up for our alpha. You'll get all your news there. You can sign up for our newsletter. We will not sell your email address to anybody. We don't send a ton of emails out.
Awesome.
That's
Thank you, Athena.
Oh, you're welcome.
See you soon.
Wow. Like,
yeah.
definitely,
Athena throwing it down.
Yeah, definitely a sandbox I am not playing in. You know, she's great. She's great. Virtual reality is just so interesting. Just so interesting.
Yeah, she's at the cutting edge of this. And it's just incredible to be in her energy sphere. She's just like comes at it from all angles, has been at it for a long time. And it's still just, I don't know, I just feel like she's just fresh. She's just making it happen in real time.
Cutting edge. Like, that's, yeah. And I mean, like, the coolest thing, talk about pulling back the curtain and seeing, like, you know, hearing the stories about how this stuff kind of comes to reality and her, like, stake moment. I mean, it's hilarious.
Yeah. I really hope that she sends us the steak headshot.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. God, we'll look for that one. Very cool. Thanks for bringing her into the fold. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yeah. It's even fun just hanging out with her on the playa. Like I said, I just sort of run into her numerous times, and she does have those cameras, you know, she's like this camera, and it's like this, you know, it's like 360 camera ball.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. So check them out, at burnersphere.com, and that's coming out in June, I believe.
Yeah. Everyone get your goggles, your 3D goggles, virtual reality goggles. I'll figure that one out. Jeez. All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Our designer is Aaliyah Kane. Music is by Peter Chapman. Our producer is Colin Miller.